video I want to talk about a subject that can be kind of sensitive, as the title states, would the military open fire on civilians? And my answer is yes. Being someone who was in the military and part of the force that would probably be doing the shooting at civilians, the Marines, they would be domestically deployed domestically, along with Army National Guard and stuff like that. Look at Katrina. They were doing patrols. I saw like Condition 4 rifles being put on patrol. They had these rifles and they didn't have magazines in them. They were just rolling around with these empty guns inside a city with no, I don't even know if they even had magazines on them, but what would be the scenario where they would have the opportunity to shoot at civilians, like en masse, like on a battlefield or whatever? Civil unrest, civil war. Changing the Constitution where people are like not accepting it or whatever, like say they decide Second Amendment doesn't exist, freedom of speech doesn't exist, whatever. Something that could actually constitute maybe a whole state has to have martial law started, like that Bundy Ranch crap that was going on, where they stood up against the federal government. Well, that was just government agencies. Those are probably going to be a little easier to get them to back down. The military? Probably not. You're talking about a lot of firepower, a lot of, there is no real option. Once you're sent in to do something, you're going to do it. So, here's the thing. Yes, you get your civil unrest and stuff like that, but what's going to happen if there's a national emergency declared where we start declaring martial law and all that other crap? Bases are going to start forming up. If it's happening around a base, what's going to happen is most likely all the active and reserve people are going to be activated right away, pulled onto that base, and they're going to be put in something called River City, or something like it. Probably a blackout, an intelligence blackout, no news feed, none of that crap. They want to keep the morale, control the morale, support it internally, so they'll feed them whatever propaganda, the minimalist information that they need. Probably not going to be contacting families too much. Operational security, if they are looking at deploying them internally inside the U.S. or domestically, I should say, not internally, then there is probably going to be a communications blackout, and for operational security reasons. So they're going to be fed only the propaganda that they need to be fed in order to get them to be in the correct mindset or frame of mind for the mission that they're going to be conducting. We saw a lot of that in 9/11. When 9/11 happened back in 2001, you had the base near me flooded with active duty people, and they had a communication blackout. They were ready to deploy everything, and they had no idea what was going on, but they had a communications blackout. They said goodbye to their families, and then they were gone. They were locked in on the base. The base was completely locked down. So that's one thing that I don't hear people really much talking about. So next thing is, as I was talking about, I touched on earlier, the propaganda. How are we going to get propaganda? Like, for me, being in the military, I know the way the military does things. Like, if you've ever heard a citation read, just as an example, this is propaganda. Citations that are read for, like, Silver Stars, Medals of Honor, they make it so vague that they let your imagination, they throw in a few big words and things that, very simple people can kind of understand, and they'll make it seem more glamorous than it really was. Take out the harshness and make it seem like somebody just saluting on the shores for America, for their country, which is complete crap. They leave out a lot of the shit that they had to go through, or some of the stuff they didn't even think about and they just did because heat of the moment. So they made it seem like they're just some kind of hero. That's how citations are. That's how propaganda is formed. That's how you motivate people, because what they want is for you to be almost superhuman. The best soldier is someone who goes out of their way and pushes themselves beyond their own limits in order to become something that they shouldn't be. That's something that they're not, better than human. So They want you to do amazing things, and the way to do that is to believe you're capable of doing amazing things. If he did it, I can do it. Or I want to be like that person, so I'm going to push myself harder, shit like that. So that's how propaganda would work in the military. You'd get very vague news on what happened. Hey, we got unrest, we got martial law and this stuff, we got radicals all over the place, shooting up the city or whatever. Like, say it is a bunch of Second Amendment people upset about the Second Amendment getting, repealed completely or whatever, and they start arming themselves. You got militias, arming themselves and ready to stand up. Look at the times right now. You've got liberal groups that are arming themselves, that have armed themselves and stood at protests, ready to shoot at anybody that oppose them or whatever. So you've got that. So anybody that's an oath keeper, that's educated in what's going on, how vague the military can be on what group this is, anti-government group. You got a lot of militias that are not okay with, that would not be okay with this new government that's repealed the Second Amendment, and they want to keep it the old way. Even if it was a valid change, how are you going to know which group is the one that is being radical and not accepting the current government presence? If they were to come into the area, or they're threatening to take over the government or whatever, maybe the local government, who knows? How are you going to know when you're given a mission order and all you're told about the basic intel? If you're a small grunt, whatever, you're going to be told basic intel. So how are you going to be an oath keeper when you don't even know what the hell you're walking into? I mean, you're going to be told very basic crap. This is a radical, anti-government forces, and they're threatening harm to anybody that opposes them. So you're going to be thinking in your mind, oh crap, so we got to stop these people. You don't even know if any of that information is accurate, or if that's just the government declaring anyone who is with the NRA or any militia group, whether they was true statements or not, just to be a terrorist group. So that's very possible. It's been known to happen. Realistically, that's the kind of vague information that you're going to get. And here's the thing. Who is part of the military? Young kids. I can tell you, when I was in, very aggressive. I was very aggressive, and I didn't care who I got to smack around. As long as I got to do violence on people, I didn't really care. It's like, as long as it's sanctioned violence, I'll do violence on anyone. You want me to do that to women and children? Fine. Old men? Fine. Military-age males? Fine. Legitimate military? Militia? It didn't matter. If I was pointed in a direction and said, go kill that, that's exactly what I wanted to do. That's what I signed up to do. I wanted to be the Reaper. And, you get a lot of people like that. And how are you going to control that when they don't even care what's right or wrong? It's just, they're there to unleash their aggression, to do sanctioned violence on others. It doesn't matter what's right or wrong. You've just got young kids filled with testosterone that aren't thinking. And I would know. I was there. I was one of them years ago. So, I don't know how these oath keepers think they would be able to hold back. Number one, when they're not getting shit for intelligence, they might not even know what's going on. They might have just been called in. That's a lot of times what would happen and has happened, is they just get called in and they have no idea what's going on. Like a lot of people found out about 9/11, they were activated and they were pulled on the base, and then they were given a brief. And our nation was attacked by terrorists. We don't know who. Blah 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 blah. Get ready to deploy. We're going to war. Da 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 da. Well, we gotta. That's pretty much basically what they were told. So, a lot of premature stuff. A lot of very broad amounts of information. As an oath keeper, if you take it seriously, how are you going to know if there's a communications blackout? Which is most likely what would happen. You're probably not going to be sitting on the news for, sitting in front of the news for a month, trying to figure out what happened, and then being like, okay, now I'll go and be activated. If you're on active duty and you're living on base, you're not really going to have much of control on that. They'll cut communications. They'll cut they'll cut that stuff. They don't have a problem with doing that. I've seen it happen. So, yeah, you gotta think about these things. But if you're sent on one of those missions and you're fired at, whether you're an oath keeper or not, your job as a human being is to protect yourself. This isn't about, you know, the whole violence. I don't care who I'm shooting at thing. If you go in somewhere and you have not shot at anybody and you don't intend to, you're just getting out of the vehicle, you're forming up, and you're just doing a cordon. Hell, you're stopping for fucking filling up because you're halfway to your objective, because you have been activated, you have been sent out to go do something. Maybe it's fucking humanitarian. And you get shot at. What are you going to be doing? You're going to be shooting back at Americans. You got to look at all the stuff, the propaganda you're fed, how the mission orders are going to be given, the situation you're probably going to be put in where somebody's going to fire first, maybe. It doesn't matter. Once the firefight starts, kind of hard to stop it. It doesn't matter. If you're in camouflage and you're representing the government, you're going to be kind of going to be the enemy. And for those of you in these militias, if you're a state-sanctioned militia like the Alaskan Defense Force, you're going to be a target too. So you're going to be a target of. You're probably going to be a target of the military, at least for verification reasons, because you are more on the civilian side. So you'll probably be the first ones to get disarmed, most likely, because you're not a legitimate part of the government, really. So, yeah. And then other militias that think that you're gonna, you know, keep the peace or whatever. I got another video to do on that, so that should be fun. But this is just some food for thought. This is the reality of things, kind of giving you a little bit of my history there, but yeah, I mean, yes, I think the military would shoot at people. Plain and simple. But anyways, leave your comments below. I'd like to hear what you think, and subscribe, give it a like, and look forward to more videos on this amazing topic.